The two-time defending champs roll into Chicago to take on a red-hot Red Stars team that is unbeaten in its last 5 and has yet to lose at Toyota Park this season. It's the NWSL on FS1 now. And we welcome you to Bridgeview, Illinois on a busy night in the NWSL as all 10 teams are in action, including the Chicago Red Stars, who host the Blues of FC Kansas City in a rematch of the 2015 semifinal. Now, Chicago made it to the postseason last year for the first time in franchise history, looking to get back there again. And as we take a look at the current table, coming into tonight's match is Washington. What a season they have had, sitting in first place. Chicago with 29 points in third. Reminder, the top 4 teams make it to the playoffs, so the Red Stars could decide their fate tonight, while Kansas City in jeopardy of missing the playoffs for the first time ever. So glad you could join us tonight, and so glad to be right back next to Kendra D. St. Aubin. I'm Jen Hildreth. And Kendra, even though we saw these two teams right here in the semifinals last year, a game that Kansas City won 3-0, a little different story now.
A little different story in the sense that Chicago didn't come out and play like they wanted to play in that game, and they have that game on their mind. They faced Kansas City twice already this season, but this is a different scenario. There's some playoff implications here. As for Kansas City, a completely different lineup and a roster than we saw last season.
I mean, you talk about overhaul. This, what you see here, really just some of the highlights, some of the big names, in all 12 players gone who were on the team last year.
Well, and you can see those names right there. Lauren Holiday choosing to retire, Leanne Brown, Amy LaPelbet, Jen Bizkowski, a player that everybody told us last season, really a linchpin to this team in the middle of the field. And of course, Sydney LaRue and Amy Rodriguez missing some time due to pregnancy. So yes, some major changes. They have a lot of superstars and some studs still on this roster, and I guarantee they'll bring it tonight.
And it is an interesting night, as we mentioned, all 10 teams in action. All 4 playoff spots could be decided by the end of the night. We could also know the Shield winner, so a lot on the line.
I think that's what's so amazing about this league, the parity in this league. Only one team is completely out of the playoff picture. Everybody else still technically has something to play for. Kansas City told us yesterday they're kind of eyeing 2017, but even they're not out of the picture completely quite yet.
Chicago looking to punch their ticket tonight. They could not do it last year. They were the favorite on their home field, but Kansas City came in, took advantage of a few mistakes, had a 3-goal lead at halftime, held on for the win, and went on to win their second straight NWSL title. Kansas City, Chicago, coming up. We are just moments away from kickoff between the Chicago Red Stars and FC Kansas City from Bridgeview, Illinois. Hoping that Mother Nature cooperates. Sky's looking a little bit threatening here, but this is how the teams will start out for FC Kansas City. Shea Groom, the leading scorer for the team this season.
Well, we talk so much about the national team players, Sauerbrunn, of course, Heather O'Reilly, but the other pieces also make this team go. We've got Ava Butch playing a new position in that center back role. Head coach Vlatko Andonovski said she absolutely has taken that role and run with it, and just a leader in that center back spot.
A lot of changes to that back line. Love that story with Averbush going back there. And for the Chicago Red Stars and head coach Rory Dames, we weren't quite sure how he was going to arrange his attacking pieces. This is our best guess at this point.
Well, you know, we always try to put together a tactical, but players are so versatile these days, it almost doesn't matter what we throw out there because they can move around and play just about anywhere. Camo, Huerta, of course, DiBernardo, a key piece to the center midfield, Colaprico, and then you've got Johnson and Johnson right up the middle in the back.
Kristen Press and McCaffrey getting used to one another in that top duo attacking spot. Vlatko Andonovski, head coach for Kansas City, led this team to back-to-back NWSL titles, and Rory Dames has this team going in the right direction. His 5th season as the head coach in this organization. Yes, that predates NWSL, but the team making the playoffs for the first time last year. And as we get things started, it will be FC Kansas City wearing white, moving from left to right on your screen. The Chicago Red Stars wearing the light blue uniforms, and Brittany Taylor quickly trying to pick out Heather O'Reilly. A couple of things you might be looking for early here, Kendra.
Well, I just want to see the possession that we hear so much about from the Chicago Red Stars team. Yesterday it was really fun to talk to them, to the whole group, and just they are excited about what they have going on this season. They've got everybody back. Of course, after that Olympic break, that new piece with McCaffrey up top, still kind of learning her way in this situation with this group. And it's going to just be fun to see how they combine up the middle of the field and get in on the attack.
Yeah, Stephanie McCaffrey coming over to join Chicago via trade with the Boston Breakers on July 22nd. Interesting piece added to this puzzle. Have to watch out for the speed of O'Reilly. Will pressure that back line of Chicago. Heather O'Reilly in the news recently announcing her retirement from international soccer. 15-year career with the U.S. national team. You've heard nothing but the most exemplary praise for her as a teammate. And she plays a pretty big role in this Kansas City team as well. Blues working deep into Chicago's territory at the moment. And now the ball goes out of bounds for a goal kick. Couple of great goalkeepers in this match for both teams. For Chicago, Alyssa Nair, one of the changes for this team from last season, and to be quite candid, when we talked to Rory Dames, he said, we made no secret that after last season, look, they took a big step. They made the playoffs for the first time. They want to go farther. They knew they needed to upgrade their goalkeeping position.
Well, and he wasn't taking anything away from the goalkeeper that he had last season, but there's just a difference about Alyssa Nair. She's got a leadership quality. She's solid. The confidence that she has, it passes on to the rest of her teammates in that spot.
Turnover. O'Reilly on the ball for Kansas City. Her shot blocked.
And going back to Nair real quick, it's the direction, it's the organization, it's the experience that she brings to that position. It's just, you know, when you have a piece like that in the back, even if your team is having one of the worst days, your goalkeeper can keep you in the game. And that's a little bit what she did just the other day against Seattle. They had a rough first 20 minutes, and she made some pretty incredible saves.
If you haven't seen the highlights, go check it out. It's on the Chicago Red Stars Twitter feed for one. You can see some pretty amazing goalkeeping in a match that saw Chicago battle back for a big point, 2-2 draw. First corner kick of the match coming. All curled in near post. Initially cleared, but it goes back to the feet of Kansas City. Ball put back in play and over the crossbar.
Well, and already right now, FCKC having quite a bit of the possession in their offensive third of the field, putting some pressure on here, trying to force the issue with Chicago. Just a few minutes in, but we knew FCKC, they're not their normal selves. It's not quite the top of the table like they were the past couple seasons, but they're not lacking in talent and effort. And Coach told us they might be better this season than last year, especially with what they've had to go through, not just physically, but mentally, some of the challenges they faced this season at Kansas City.
Well, and I love how Coach Andonovski said, we had to be better. We had to all learn how to work harder. We couldn't get away with quite as much when you lose some of the pieces that they lost in a Lauren Holiday, in an Amy Rodriguez, in a Jen Buskowski. They knew everybody was going to have to help pick up that slack. Chicago now with a chance. Kristen Press on the ball, looking on the inside for McCaffrey, who's open in the box, and then just at the last moment, Nicole Barnhart with the save.
Well, and just like we know in the game of soccer, it only takes one time for the opposition to head the other direction, and a beautiful ball slided right in behind the D. McCaffrey might have wanted to take that one touch. You know she's going to want that one back. She's already got a couple goals in the 4 games she's played with this team. It's going to be fun to watch that combination between her and Press.
Absolutely. 2 goals in 4 matches, as you said, for McCaffrey. This was the last chance.
And look at first a nice lofted ball right over the top. Press takes a nice touch. Probably needed to be 1 touch there because you know you've got a goalkeeper like Barnhart. She's not going to mess around, coming off her line at the right angle. Lays down and just corrals that ball in.
I think you called it exactly right, though. McCaffrey touches that first time, takes a quick shot. Not sure that Barnhart would have been able to save it. Beautiful ball sent in from press. It was really a nice series all the way around on that attack by Chicago. Nicole Barnhart just once again doing her thing, leading the NWSL in saves, tied for first in shutouts. Do you know she has led this league in shutouts every single year of its existence?
That does not surprise me. I mean, there's just some incredible, solid goalkeepers in this league.
Chicago once again on the attack. This is Erin Gilliland, the right back. She loves to get up and attack for her team. Ball in the box on the ground. Now it's kicked back out. Casey Short, new left back this season, takes the shot off the post.
What a left-footed rocket from Casey Short. And look at the two outside backs getting in on that attack for Chicago.
But look at the counter chance opportunity now for Kansas City. This is a key moment when they can take advantage of that aggression. Inside the box, the shot and a goal! Leading scorer, Shea Groom, was there and finished it.
Well, and how about the work by Heather O'Reilly? The quick counterattack, they told us yesterday, Coach Andonovski said, we are gonna have to find a way to counter the numbers forward that Chicago puts. And right now, look at this. First, it started from the middle of the field. A beautiful ball. Francis Silva finds Heather O'Reilly, who has the ability to float. She's got some freedom up there to come up the middle, get down the flank, takes a nice touch to the end, picks her head up, finds her teammate, beats Julie Johnston on that play. Did you see her pick her head up right there? She's putting it on a spot. She's just not serving it into the box without picking up her spot right there. And Shea Groom, the leading scorer for Kansas City, continues.
Chicago quickly down, looking for an answer. Left-footed shot, another ball off the post.
Is this a bit reminiscent of the semifinal? I mean, where Chicago actually had some pretty impressive, incredible possession in the first 20, 30 minutes of that game and had created some offensive opportunities, and Kansas City was able to capitalize on the counter and some mistakes. 2 posts already here today, and an additional breakaway by McCaffrey, where she probably should have taken 1 touch instead of 2. Otherwise, the Red Stars, it would at least be an even match right now.
But you're absolutely right, though, as Chicago hitting the hardware a couple of times in the attack. They are still pressing. I mean, this is an aggressive, relentless team. Those are some of the words that they use to describe themselves. And on the same token, that's exactly what Kansas City was hoping to take advantage of on the counter. And they play it through. The young player in Shea Groom, Texas A&M alum, who with 7 goals on the season now, is doing what her coach always knew she could do.
He had high praise for her yesterday, but high criticism in a constructive sense. He's known her for a long time, Shea Groom, since I believe, she was 9, 15. You know, he's coached her along the ranks and has just such high expectations.
Chicago on the attack again. Some time in the box, the ball sent away as Becky Sauerbrunn and the defense break things up. DiBernardo has played a huge role for Chicago this season. Short gets it up top. Shot from press, deflected. See Chicago really bringing some numbers up into the attack. Press again on the ball. And that ball a little bit too far out in front.
A little bit too much on that one, but you can see the movement on the outsides there. Sofia Huerta kind of pinched in on that right flank, and she's got that overlapping run constantly happening from Gilliland on that right back side. And that's going to create some problems for Kansas City. They're aware of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can stop it every time when you have numbers like that coming at you.
I think you really look for the response from Chicago in these moments after conceding the early goal. Heather O'Reilly looking up, seeing her target, and Shea Groom with her 7th goal of the season. Once again, Kansas City going quickly the other way. And they they told us yesterday, talked to Heather O'Reilly and Becky Sauerbrunn, and they said, you know, we feel like we're kind of figuring things out now. We wish we had a few more games to play in the season because they just needed time. They needed time to instill, as they called it, the Kansas City mentality in a lot of their new players this year. And Chicago, meanwhile, has really shown a lot of fight. Now, I will say, Rory Dames did not like the way his team came out in their last match against Seattle, but they have a chance here, once again on the attack. Looking for press along that right side, but the ball will be too far for her to catch up to. But he said, we've played great on this stretch. They're 5 unbeaten, he said, except for the first 20 minutes of that Seattle game.
But they recovered, and I think that's something else he was really pleased with, the fact that they came out, did not play anywhere near their best soccer, and they found a way to get a tie in that game, which was a huge point for them to come away with.
Yep, gave up 2 goals in the first 10 minutes in that one. So again, they find themselves in an early hole. Will they find the fight to come back this time? With a win and a little bit of help from some of the other teams, they have a chance to get in the playoffs. A Short sends a long ball toward Barnhart.
For a second there, it looked like she was trying to chip Barnhart, but I think that cross just got away from her, trying to bend it away from the keeper.
Silva. Under some pressure, but it'll be a Kansas City throw. McCaffrey kind of alone up there. Tries to get through 3 or 4 defenders, can't do it. Desiree Scott, hasn't said her name yet for Kansas City. But the Canadian international, who's coming off a bronze medal in the Olympics, always makes her presence felt in the midfield.
They were happy to have all of the players back from the Olympic break. I think, if anything, just to continue to develop that chemistry. And those breaks the last 2 seasons for the World Cup and the Olympics have been tough. It's been a challenge.
Chicago in the box, press, nice move, takes a shot, bends it in, what a beautiful goal!
What a finish by Kristen Press. Just clinical in her finishing. I mean, we just talked about Barnhart being one of the top keepers, of course, in the country and in the world, and her abilities, but look at Kristen Press, just picks it apart. 2, 3 little moves, gets it back on that right foot, inside of the right foot, bends it around Barnhart, side netting. What a finish.
Just gorgeous, and she's taken advantage there. We mentioned Yael Averbuch in a brand new position on that back line, and the wily Kristen Press doing some damage. I thought the move to get herself open was pretty. The finish even better, and she's on the move again. Counterattack chance for the Red Stars now, but Press needs some help, or does she? Finally, Becky Sauerbrunn comes in and says, I've had enough of that, my friend.
That's when the second defender really comes in handy, even in tight quarters inside your own 6-yard box. Again, she beats Yael Averbuch a little bit there, but Kristen Press has the ability to get you a little crossed up, but that's why you have a second defender to come in and help you out.
7th goal this season for Press as well. In limited appearance with her national team duty. This is just her 12th match of the season. Now a corner kick coming for Chicago. Bent toward that back post, Barnhart has it! Are you telling me they just hit the post again?
I think it did. I think Huerta came in on that backside. Barnhart looks like she tipped it. And then Sofia Huerta got a head on it. I thought it went post or crossbar on that far post. Let's see. Maybe a knuckle, the back of Huerta's head off the post and out. Got a little bit of everything on that one.
I hope you're ready for an entertaining match, because if these first 15 minutes are any indication, I think the attacking prowess, the aggressive mentality of the Chicago team, fun to watch, and Kansas City proving very dangerous when they have had a chance to be on the ball. Gilliland out of the University of Kentucky takes the throw, but it's quickly taken away by Scott in Kansas City. Shea Groom really didn't have anywhere to go, courtesy of Julie Johnson. Julie Johnston, I knew I was going to do that. With Johnston and Johnson on the back line, I shouldn't
Both in the
mess
center
that
back
up.
spot.
Sorry, Julie. Heyo coming at you now. O'Reilly and Johnston gets it out of the way.
Johnston, just one of those players that has the ability to use her body so well. We've seen it in the NWSL and of course at the international level. Again, some of that speed up top. Those forwards are so quick to be able to make one touch and go around. And we saw it right there against Shea Groom. She uses her body well to get the ball and win it back.
And to have outside backs that get aggressive in attack as much as Chicago likes to do, you really have to have a certain type of player that you know is going to hold down the fort in the middle, and certainly Julie Johnston, one of those. Johnston, long ball up ahead. Kristen Press gets there. The foul is actually going to go against Press.
She's wondering what the call is there.
Dangerous play from Sauerbrunn, isn't it?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, either you just, that's a no call in my opinion. I mean, maybe a little bit of a high kick, but if anything, that should be going the other direction.
Right.
Unless it was a handball. I mean, I can't think of anything else. Maybe when Sauerbrunn flicked that ball up and over the head, Press caught it with her arm, but I didn't see it.
Chicago pressing again. Casey short. Johnston will try to find some space out wide. Chicago once again getting into the box, but running out of real estate. Huerta has been busy the last few minutes.
Well, and you can see on that right flank, she's trying to take on players and get to end line, but sometimes she likes to cut in because she's an attack-minded player. So when you also have Gilliland coming in from that right back spot, sometimes it can get a little crowded up there and they run out of space. So Gilliland stepped out to create an opportunity for Huerta to get in behind.
Driven ball this time off the corner toward the goal. Still alive in there. Johnston. Errant touch will be a throw for Kansas City, but my goodness, the set pieces.
A little chaotic on the clearances right now. Kansas City having a bit of trouble when that ball is inside the 18-yard box, getting a good solid clear. It's bounced around a few times.
And an interesting stat to note, Kansas City defensively has actually been pretty solid this season, as Vlatko Andonovski told us. Their goals against per game ratio, same as it was last year, where they were the best defense in the league. Bouncing ball in the box, headed away by Averbush. But of the 17 goals they gave up in their first 17 games, 10 of them came off of set pieces.
Well, and not only that, but they're creating only 2 or 3 good offensive opportunities as opposed to last season, maybe 8 or 9. So you're giving up goals the same amount, but you are not scoring quite as many. That'll happen when you take A-Rod out of the picture.
DiBernardo with the service on the corner. Toward the far post, headed behind the goal by Huerta. Sofia Huerta, second on the team in scoring for Chicago this season, behind Kristen Press. 5 goals, 1 assist. And as Vlatko Andonovski was telling us about his team and the season, which he described as a good season. Frustrated with the results, yes, they'd like to do better, but proud of the way that all of his players have grown and worked harder, and he put goalkeeper Nicole Barnhart in that mix, a 34-year-old goalkeeper out of Stanford who's a veteran, former U.S. national team goalkeeper, said she's been better this year than she was the last 3 years, as once again, O'Reilly speeding things along for Kansas City, but has it taken away. Now some space and a chance. Chicago's gonna go out wide for press. Her move does get around Sauerbrunn, but a little too much on the ball. Johnston sees some space on the other side. Big switch, can't quite get it over to short. Katie Bowen, the New Zealand international, in that left back position for Kansas City.
Well, an interesting watching how the players in the midfield and up top are kind of moving around and rotating for FC Kansas City right now, trying to find their opportunities, whether it's up top with Shea Groom, and of course we knew that Heather O'Reilly was going to play a little bit more of an attacking midfielder role, but
long ball off the head of McCarty, flicked into the box. Gilliland has Silva right on her toes. Let's see what our referee has to sort out. Farad Dadko, our referee for tonight's match. Kansas City working that far sideline. We'll have a deep throw here. Gilliland works so hard, goes up and down like a maniac, in the words of head coach Rory Dames.
She's not lacking in fitness, that's for sure. We were at training yesterday and it was pretty toasty out.
All in the box, bouncing around. Short gets to it before any Kansas City player can. Scott on the ball now for KC. Averbush trying to pick out O'Reilly. Groom up there as well. I think one thing you were talking about the attack and the Kansas City players shuffling around that Heather O'Reilly told us was, we are better when it's not just Shea Groom up there. We have got to collectively attack and get numbers around her. They may be in a 4-2-3-1, but they've got to give her some help when they have the ball in their attack.
And I think that's why Heather O'Reilly is so important when she is the attacking center mid right underneath. Right here we can see her pushed up a little more level with her on that front line in certain instances, but for the most part, if she can find a way to slot in underneath Groom and then find a way to combine and get forward together, you know it can be a dangerous combination.
Ball taken away. Bowen loses it though, right back to Gilliland in Chicago. Who wants it? Sauerbrunn will try to settle things down. And gives it right back to the opponent.
Sure doesn't seem like the ball has seen this near side in quite some time for either team.
Hasn't seen the ground much lately.
There we go, if she can keep it.
Yeah, Brittany Taylor with plenty of time and space to work with. It's McCarty.
Too slow. Has to just be a little bit quicker from McCarty with those touches.
And bad touch by Averbush will give the throw in to Chicago. Fans trying to make some noise for the Red Stars. Chicago, as we said early on, unbeaten at home this season. Only team in the league who can make that claim. Gilliland. Caffrey Can't get around Sauerbrunn. Good help defense there by Chicago to regain possession.
There's some patience, just swinging around the back under pressure.
Samantha Johnson finds press, now short. Short, now sends service across the box. In the middle, the shot is deflected off 2 players. Barnhart was down. Needed some help from her defense, and she got it. One game after Kansas City got on the board first, and then Chicago finding the answer through Kristen Press. Shea Groom gave the visitors the early lead. I like the little Vanessa DiBernardo song that's going on in the stands right now. And that last chance by the Red Stars.
One a nice little quick turn there. Couldn't quite get it. And again, the defense coming up big time for Kansas City. Getting just enough on it to block that shot, but again, the outside backs for Chicago so dangerous as Short getting in on the attack. DiBernardo tied for the league in the league with assists, but just itching for that goal. She is really wanting to get that first goal. She went over to Australia during the offseason and played on loan over there and had no trouble scoring, but she was in a different role, playing forward and attacking mid there. So she wanted to carry that over to the Red Stars. Hasn't happened quite yet this season from a goal scoring standpoint.
She set her teammates up quite a bit though. 6 assists, tied for first in the league. Taylor keeps it herself. Now finds the cross. Silva couldn't pick it out of the air. Good hustle out, keep the ball in bounds. Scott has it taken away. Kansas City has some numbers this time, but Chicago pretty organized defensively at the moment. Now a chance along that far sideline. Cross sent in, and Taylor awaits, takes the shot. Woo, she put some power and some bend on that ball, but Alyssa Nair up for the challenge.
That one looked like it was knuckling.
And Taylor, another one of those converted forwards who now plays outside back. Tremendous career at UConn. Actually made the switch to defense in college after leading the team in scoring, and then played some defense there. Was an all-star at WPS with Sky Blue FC. Told you, busy night. As you can see, some rain coming down out there on our field. All 10 teams in action tonight around the NWSL. All 4 playoff teams could be decided. Get a look at some of the scores. A couple of the games started early. Boston up over Western New York. Great match between Washington and Seattle. Deadlocked at the moment. Press! Nifty little turn, but couldn't get the shot.
A nifty little turn, but Huerta was wide open. And Press had let that ball go through. She looks like she maybe took a little bit of a knock there. She tried to bring that one down, and I don't know if Huerta was even calling her off, but she looked pretty open on that far post. That ball had gone through.
Do you do that? Do you call Kristen Press off the ball?
Oh, you know, I wouldn't, but maybe Huerta could. You know, she's had quite a bit of success scoring some goals herself this season with 5.
DiBernardo's corner kick headed, but not away yet. Now Kansas City gets it clear, but they're going to have to defend a corner from the other side.
And I have a feeling Press has the kind of personality that she'd be quite all right with it if she had a
Agreed.
teammate in a better position to finish one.
So DiBernardo will come over to take the corner on this side as well. Vanessa played collegiately at Illinois. She's from Naperville, playing in front of her home city, really. Getting some good opportunities off these corners. Well, every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon weekdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific, only on FS1. Heather O'Reilly with some space in the box. Casey Short defending. Ball deflected. And it'll be a corner.
Well, and again, Heather O'Reilly now floating out to the right side. We talked about how she really has the freedom to roam just about anywhere to try to create for this Kansas City offense, and creates a corner on that chance.
And she really does bring a unique skill set. I always felt that with the national team as well. So much speed, and she finds space, puts defenses under a ton of pressure. Not the service she wanted that time. Bowen pops the ball back in.
I just remember watching her, no matter where you put her on the field in those international competitions with the national team, she was high press all the time. It's like the Energizer Bunny out there, and the communication level coming from her, just so much energy, positive energy all the time.
Johnston cannot clear it cleanly. Silva wanted a call there, but no whistle by our referee.
That's one of those you almost have to take at the replay. Take a look at the replay. It's a hard time for the referee to make that judgment call in real time. Body's getting tangled up. But Silva didn't look happy with the no call.
Short once again. Advanced position for Chicago. Red Stars trying to keep possession in the offensive third. They pass it back to Johnston. And this will be a Chicago throw. Good defending by Silva. Still have to do a little more of it though. That ball top of the net and out of danger. I think the addition of Stephanie McCaffrey, really interesting one for this Chicago team. And remember, as we talked about, they're really still trying to get comfortable with her. And especially with Kristen Press, with the Press being away for some time at the Olympics, of course, and then trying to get back and get comfortable, figure one another out.
Well, she was very honest with us yesterday in our meeting, McCaffrey, just saying, when I first came to this team just before the Olympic break, she was sort of running around trying to do everything, prove herself, make her mark. And it wasn't until she had that 3 weeks when everyone else was gone for that Olympic break and they had some time to really learn the tactics of the team and the Red Stars, what they were trying to do, what the game plan was, and how she fit into it, that she started to really feel comfortable with the system.
I love that she said there's so much talent around her, it really gives me a lot more free space. I just have to figure out the best way to make use of that space. About 10 minutes remaining in our first half. It's been a good one. Scoring came early from both teams.
Ooh, I wanted a big switch. You could see on this side, Short was making a good run on the left flank. She is wide open over here. That one just mishit.
Yeah, a little too ambitious from Samantha Johnson. Nice turn by Mandy Laddish, but a turnover in a dangerous spot. Finds McCaffrey. Huerta. Gilliland now. Former Kentucky Wildcat on the move. But cleared away by Sauerbrunn.
Again, that second defender just in there. I mean, Becky Sauerbrunn, everybody talks about. Of course, she's talented, she's skilled, she's technical, but she's so smart. Positionally, always in the right spot at the right time.
Well, you sense that she has a lot more to do this season, and I mean that in no way disrespect to the players around her, but when you lose 3 of your 4 starting defenders, as FC Kansas City did, and you've got people like a Yael Averbush who are trying to learn a relatively new position, then all that leadership and smarts of Sauerbrunn become all the more important. Corner from DiBernardo, driven near post, and headed away, right back. Short with the header, and into the gloves of Barnhart. Casey Short in her first year with the Chicago Red Stars. Was drafted to play in the NWSL by Boston in 2013, but then really missed a couple of years with knee injuries, decided to go over to Norway and play, and then this year came back, and she is a local product out of Naperville Central High School. Was inducted into their Hall of Fame in January. Incredibly decorated high school career for Casey Short, getting a chance now to play in her home state.
Well, and Coach Rory Dames basically said, look, I've waited 3 years for Casey Short to come to this team, between the injuries, getting drafted by Boston, then heading to Norway and having some pretty good play there as well. He's been waiting 3 years to get her into this roster and on this lineup.
Yep, Short in the top 11 of the top division in Norway. O'Reilly making a run now as Groom's gonna take it herself. Taylor Camo.
Good defending there by Shea Groom. She wasn't giving up on that ball after she took a shot and it got blocked.
Hustled back and got the ball back for her team. McCarty and Short, 2 Seminoles going head to head. Now the ball up ahead. The Mandy Laddish shot from McCarty. Do you have a feeling at this point? It's been exciting first half, but do you have a feeling as we get close to halftime here of maybe who's had the advantage?
I really don't, because I think the goals have almost come against the run of play in those exact moments where you kind of felt the other team was pressing and getting some good chances, and then it comes right the other direction. Or Chicago, hit 2-3 posts, had a breakaway blocked by Barnhart, and then Kansas City went down and scored. Really even matched. The first 15-20 minutes were more of a flurry than it has been the last 20. Anybody's game in the second half.
And a reminder, what is on the line for both of these teams. It's a pretty steep uphill battle. You talked about it in the open. Kansas City not technically eliminated from the playoff picture yet, but a lot has to happen for them to be able to have their season continue. They have to win this. You need to know that. And for Chicago, they can get in with a win and a Seattle loss or draw. There's the playoff scenario for Kansas City. Help clear that up for you a little bit. So they have to have a win. That's really all they need to worry about.
Right.
And then for the Chicago Red Stars, we're not talking elimination here. We're talking clinching a playoff spot. You can see the if-then situations that involve the Red Stars, as this ball is going end-to-end on the field and finally winds up at the feet of Barnhart. Laddish will pass back to Sauerbrunn. Chicago now starting to collapse on the ball. I think you would say, Kendra, the way that the seasons have played out, you certainly have to consider Chicago the favorite in this one. In your opinion, what do they need to do to gain an advantage in the second half, or maybe in these last few minutes here of our first half?
Well, I think they're using the width of the field really well. I think they could probably use this near side a little bit more, switch it up. We saw Casey Short get involved a few times, but the ball seems to get stuck right now on that far side quite a bit because Gilliland, she loves to get up and down. And what did they say yesterday? Like a crazy woman?
Yeah,
so
in a good way.
And of course, again, I think they need to find a way to get McCaffrey and Press working together. When they get that ball up top, how can those two combine together in that transition in that final third?
And by the same token, for Kansas City, you know, I think they probably feel pretty pleased with where they're at the moment, especially considering those number of posts that Chicago hit in that early flurry of activity. We'll see what they do on this chance here. As quickly under pressure was O'Reilly, but it goes right to the feet of Shea Groom. McCarty, but the offside flag is up.
And Nair came out, yeah, quite a collision there. Nair came out pretty hard on that play. Tiffany McCarty was clearly offside. We saw the assistant referee's flag go up almost immediately, but the whistle was a little bit late. And I think that's what caused the collision. Because Nair, of course, she's going to come out hard and defend her 18-yard box until that whistle blows. But you could see right there, you thought it was going to be a Kansas City turnover, and quickly, just like that, it turns into a nice little through ball to McCarty and almost finds her feet.
And Alyssa Nair, making no mistake about it, pretty big opportunity in front of her in terms of international play. I haven't talked much about that yet, but with Hope Solo's situation, Alyssa Nair, the heir apparent at the moment, in goal for the U.S. national team. Exciting times for her. Short with the shot from distance. Well, coming up at halftime, we will talk about the U.S. national team, show you first half highlights and stats. A lot in the news lately. A couple of players with ties to this Kansas City team have been in the news recently. We'll catch you up on all of that. Take a look back at what has been a pretty intense and exciting first half of action. This is the third meeting between these two teams this season, third of four. They're going to turn around and play each other again on Sunday in Kansas City. First couple of matches were a 0-0 draw and then a 1-0 win for Chicago. So that goal by Shea Groom early in this one, the first time Kansas City had been able to find the back of the net against Chicago this season.
Well, I think it goes back to what we said earlier in the broadcast. They are creating 2 or 3 really good offensive opportunities each game this season, as opposed to 8 or 9 last year, and they have to be able to capitalize on those chances, and that's exactly what they did with that play from O'Reilly right to Shea Groom.
Brittany Taylor to McCarty, who has some space if she turns, and she does. Flicks a little bouncing ball into the box. Groom couldn't quite get to it. Alyssa Nair
not
quickly
happy
off the line.
Well, and you could see her reaction there.
Yes.
She was not happy about her quick outlet pass trying to find Kristen Press, but finds the out of bounds line instead.
She's intense.
She's intense. She's a perfectionist. She knows a missed opportunity when she sees one.
Never want to give a team another chance. As Short and McCarty once again tangling up with one another. those two. I was trying to see if they overlapped at Florida State. They're just a year apart. McCarty 25 and Casey Short 26. And that will do it for the first half. A couple of early goals. Kansas City first through Shea Groom, and then Kristen Press with just a gorgeous goal to even things up. Anybody's game at this point.
Started out fast and furious, firing on both cylinders. I think the adrenaline was pumping for both teams. Slowed down there the second half of that first half. It'll be interesting to see who comes out more fired up as we get underway at the second half.
And we are waiting for Rory Dames, head coach of the Chicago Red Stars. He joins us now. Coach, well, you told us your team is relentless, showed a lot of fight. You got in an early hole. What did you see from your team to come back and even this thing one up?
I thought we had a better start than we did on Sunday, other than giving away the goal. A bit unfortunate with some of the posts that we've hit, but we lost our pace a little bit as the half went on. So our quality around the goal is going to have to get a little bit better. We're going to have to move the ball a little quicker.
Yes, not lacking in offensive opportunities in that first half. What do you attribute the lull to wrap up the half there?
Fatigue. I think both groups having to play Sunday and turn around and play Wednesday is hard. It was very hot at the beginning of the game, so I think it's just fatigue. Whichever team can push through a little bit here in the second half, probably come out ahead.
All right, Coach, thanks so much.
No problem.
Appreciate hearing from Rory Dames and his team right now tied 1-1 with FC Kansas City. What a match it's been so far. We're going to talk the U.S. national team and look back at this first half of action. But the score, 1-1 after 45. Our score after 45 minutes of action between the Chicago Red Stars and FC Kansas City. Pretty exciting match so far. We're going to need more time to figure out who wants this one. Alongside Kindred E. St. Aubin, I'm Jen Hildreth. We promised you guys a little bit of U.S. national team talk. A couple of players have been in the news recently, both with ties to this Kansas City team. You've got to start with Lauren Holiday. The news really breaking this week about the fact that she has a benign brain tumor. It is going to require cancer, but it's going to require surgery, but they have to wait until she delivers her child. She's due next month. Really quite a lot to take there for her former teammates.
Well, and we asked all of them about it yesterday, and they were really kind of upset. You could tell emotionally by it, but then they recovered nicely, just like they knew Lauren Holiday would, and said, she is the type of person that will come through this with flying colors, and she will be stronger, probably on the other side, if that's even possible, out of it. And this is exactly what she tweeted yesterday. We are firm believers that people need people, so thank you for your thoughts and prayers as we navigate a difficult time. And that was the overall sentiment. First of all, it became public knowledge, so all of us got to learn about it. Her teammates and her coach, former coach, already knew about it, and they all said she is the type of person that will come out stronger on the other side. And she's also the type of person that you ask her how she's doing, and immediately she says, no, I'm fine, how are you doing? And that really fits the bill of what we know about Lauren Holiday.
Our thoughts and prayers certainly go out to Lauren and Drew. Hope all the best for them. And then Heather O'Reilly, the other player who's been talked about recently, as she announced her retirement after 15 years with the U.S. national team. She'll continue in her pro career, but she's going to say goodbye to the Stars and Stripes.
And it's going to be a tough one to not see her, whether it's on the field or on the sideline, in that United States jersey, because she epitomizes soccer in the United States for women at any level, much like a Lauren Holiday. So it's tough to see someone like that walk away from the game. You can understand. She said it's time. She almost got a little emotional talking to us about it yesterday, but she said, it's time. I'm going to move on. I'm going to keep playing pro. I still got something left in me, but I think she'll be a coach one day. She absolutely, or she looked at us and says, I'll take your job.
She did.
Which
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she did that either.
230 international appearances in the incredible career for Heather O'Reilly, who was an alternate for the U.S. team at this past Olympics. Well, we had an entertaining first half of action here. Heather O'Reilly was involved, but it was her teammate Shea Groom who got the scoring started. We'll look back on it when we come back. Kansas City and Chicago all locked up at 1 after the first half of action here at Toyota Park in Bridgeview, Illinois. Let's take a look back. Chicago was attacking early, but it would be FC Kansas City who got on the board first.
Well, this is what I was talking about. It seemed against the run of play, but leave it up to Heather O'Reilly to get out on the break, transition, something they said they absolutely wanted to do and take advantage of, and they finished there with Shea Groom. Chicago, though, they didn't waste any time.
Well, they hit the post.
I mean, good Lord. They went right way the other direction and could not find a way to finish.
So just when you think they maybe wouldn't have luck on their side in this one, they get it to Kristen Press, who does this.
Well, and she had hit a post not too long before that, and she wasn't going to let that happen again. You can see the moves there, but it's really about the clinical finish, bending it out inside of the right foot, finding that far post side netting.
First 14 minutes of action shot, both of our goals. You can see the shots well in favor of Chicago, 10-3, but I don't think that would surprise Kansas City. They knew that was the way this would go.
They did, and you also saw the goals were what, the 7th minute and the 13th minute, and we heard head coach Rory Dame say there was quite a lull there to wrap up the half, and that's what happened. They're going to come out backfiring the second half.
We'll see who does come out with a little more fire and energy second half. Coming up from Toyota Park, we'll see who can get out in front between Chicago and Kansas City. Oh, the crowd even getting into it, getting some push-ups in. Not a girl? Yeah,
love it.
High
Look
five.
At that.
Oh, and then the fist bump.
That is awesome.
That's actually what Kendra was just doing
oh,
up in the booth a second ago too, because we're pumped up for the second half.
That was awesome. I love the fist bump high five combo too. That was great.
Excellent work by the fans here at Toyota Park. Second half underway. Chicago Red Stars looking to secure a playoff berth for the second straight year. Reminder, Chicago is wearing their light blue uniforms, now going from left to right on your screen. FC Kansas City, the visitors, in all white tonight. And we talked about this earlier, Kendra, and when we talked with all of the players and Coach Vlatko Andonovski from Kansas City yesterday, and he told us, he said, I told the team on Sunday, we're playing for 2017 now. They knew that their hopes were very slim, and actually getting word of some of the other results. The Boston Breakers Western New York Flash draw final means that Kansas City actually is eliminated from the playoffs, but that really doesn't make any difference to them at this point. As they said, they're playing for the future and they're trying to keep moving forward.
Well, and I think sometimes you talk to a coach like Vlatko Andonovski and you're like, wow, why is this guy so happy and positive when we're talking to him and they've pretty much been eliminated. This was yesterday, but he is so positive because he knows the talent that is on this team and that he knew this was going to be a difficult year and that he really feels they have actually gotten better mentally, physically. They've had to work harder. They couldn't rely on the same pieces they always have, and he thinks they'll be better for it down the line into 2017.
Well, and they had trouble with their offense this season, and let's remember that Amy Rodriguez and Sydney LaRue, who was traded for in the offseason, will be a part of this attack come next season. A lot of pressure put on by Silva, middle of the park, results in a turnover. McCarty immediately has two Red Stars around her, but she's still had the ball. Now Casey Short has it. McCarty sneaks it through, and that was a dummy. That was a little dangerous.
Made me nervous. Shea Groom was just waiting for that ball to come back.
Vanessa DiBernardo had the captain's armband on while Kristen Press was away on Olympic duty. And all season long has been one of the most consistent players for this Chicago team.
Coach Rory Dame said yesterday, though, DiBernardo kind of walked with her one arm slouching, tilting down as this ball comes in. When she had that captain's armband, like it was weighing her down at first, but she really grew into it and accepted that leadership role. She already was a leader, but it's a little bit different when you actually have to wear the captain's armband and you know people are looking to you.
Samantha Johnson to short. Taylor gets it to the feet of Laddish. Tiffany McCarty with a quick touch toward the center of the box, and Julie Johnston goes flying after a little collision there.
And she doesn't go down easy, so you knew it was a little bit of a shove there to the back as two players heading to the ball on that one. And Johnston gets the call in her favor.
Johnston and Brittany Taylor, I believe it was, who was in on it. One substitution made at the half, Amanda DaCosta. In her first year with the Red Stars after coming over with a trade with Washington, she comes in for Taylor Camo, which, no surprise, Camo, we knew was a game time decision, has had a hamstring issue recently. Gilliland right in front of us along this right sideline now. Silva lays out, misses. Gilliland still going forward, and Katie Bowen whistled for the foul.
And Gilliland, another player who does not go down easily. She went to make a nice little speed move on that right flank first. She beats Silva, and you can see Silva trying to go toe-to-toe with her. And Gilliland tries to cut inside. And Katie Bowen knocks her. Looked like a knee-to-knee there as Gilliland slow to get up.
Gilliland, very decorated career at the University of Kentucky. All-time leader in shots and game-winning goals. Was a 2014 SEC Defensive Player of the Year. She did it all. Honda Award winner. Dangerous free kick chance here.
Not where she wanted that one, I guarantee it. You've got Huerta, who has the ability to get up on those balls in over the top. Didn't even have a chance with that one.
Had a couple of matches go final as we are in our second half here. This are the updated NWSL standings that take those into account. You see Kansas City officially eliminated now, as we mentioned before. Boston getting the draw with Western New York. Get a chance to see the Flash on Sunday. Sky Blue FC in Orlando with a 1-1 draw as well. And last I heard, Washington and Seattle. No score in that matchup. A lot of space there for Katie Bowen. Nice touch to Laddish. Back to Bowen. Not her first touch. Got away from her. Chicago with a chance on that takeaway. Shot driven, but right at Barnhart.
Well, you can see McCaffrey there. Kristen Press coming straight at her. She's just trying to figure out, where do I move to either get in support of Kristen Press, or how do I get out of the way of this shot? And I think, again, that's some of the chemistry that's going to come with time between Kristen Press and Stephanie McCaffrey up top, trying to figure out how to best benefit each other in that offensive third of the field.
Couple of players down now.
Geez, it looks like another needed knee on the other end of the field. And again, see Kristen Press, see McCaffrey. She's trying to figure out, where can I run in support of Press if she needs me?
Yes.
But if she doesn't, how in the world do I get out of the way? And that's the knock we just saw, and it absolutely is. Again, just another kneecap to kneecap situation.
Samantha Johnson and Tiffany McCarty, the two involved. McCarty back on her feet. Johnson still on the ground. Now, you haven't really had a chance to talk much about Samantha Johnson.
What a story.
I know.
Unbelievable.
You forget because she's become such a staple in the center of their back line alongside Julie Johnson. You forget she made this team through open tryouts in 2014.
Open tryouts in 2014. She shows up at the facility, and the Chicago Red Stars hold open tryouts. And by the end of that season, she was a regular starter on this Red Stars team in 2014. Unbelievable story.
Certainly hope we get to see her get back to her feet and be all right. You know those hurt.
And she's trying to figure out if she can put any weight on it to even get off the field at this point. We see that happen a lot in soccer because there are so many good 1v1 players with speed that try to take each other on, but the defenders are so good, they're not going to back off and drop off. They're going to stick right with you step for step. So you see those collisions.
So Johnson will be helped off of the field. See if Rory Dames opts to make a substitution. You would assume when a player is carried off and is not having either foot on the ground, that would be the case, but we'll see. And you wonder how that could change things along that Chicago back line.
That's been a pretty solidified back line, minus when Julie Johnston was missing time with the international duty. Pretty consistent back four for Chicago.
So Rory Dames will indeed use his second substitution to bring in the rookie out of Notre Dame, Katie Naughton. All three rookies that Chicago signed this season, all local kids. Katie out of Elk Grove Village, Illinois. It's the 19th overall pick and Chicago's first pick in the 2016 college draft. Short, trying to pick out her targets up front. Nobody's going to be able to catch up to that ball, so it'll be a goal kick. And you just wonder, Rory Dames talked to us about fatigue being an issue. This collision winds up taking starting center back out of the game. He's now used 2 subs. So could fatigue play an even greater factor for the Red Stars? We'll see how they hold up.
Well, you know what's not going to help if your team is fatigued, as she's still being carried off the field, maybe being able to walk in the tunnel here, gingerly putting some weight on that left foot. What doesn't help with fatigue is when you can't keep the ball, and either team right now is having a really hard time possessing past 1 or 2 passes.
That's a really good point. It's tough when you're chasing around all the time.
Chasing around, defending, having to transition quickly to defense. Nobody's going to want to make a run forward if you know your team is just going to turn the ball over once you do it.
Heather O'Reilly told us her Kansas City team was going to come in here and play this match and their final 2 matches after this one like they had nothing to lose, and in truth they don't. Kansas City will not be going to the playoffs for the first time ever. They are the only team who advanced to the postseason the first 3 years in the NWSL. And so they can play a little more free, perhaps. Chicago trying to clinch their spot in the playoffs and really get on a roll as they head toward the postseason. They're not a lock yet, but they're close. Sometimes it is a little easier to be that team that has nothing to lose. Gladys just had nowhere to go with that ball. Eventually, the destroyer, Desiree Scott, handles it.
Well,
you know how to get that nickname in, right?
Yeah, I knew you did, because you love that one. But you could hear the second Mandy Laddish receive the ball in the middle of the field. Somebody was yelling to her, just play it back, just give it back. But at the same time, she's looking back at her teammate Becky Sauerbrunn thinking, if I play it back to her, Christian Press is waiting there in the wings to pick this ball off. She needed another option off the ball as Heather O'Reilly just took a line drive, I think, to the face.
Yeah, from close range, too.
Close range. I think it was a defensive clear. Doesn't even flinch. Just had to take a knee for a second there. You know she's not going to come off it. Oh, she's got to now because the trainer came on the field, but I'm sure she's upset that he even came on the field to get her.
So there is a score now as we look around the league in that Washington-Seattle match. Crystal Dunn has put the Spirit out in front, 1-0. And if those results hold, Chicago would be into the playoffs.
And no surprise, there's Heather O'Reilly back on the field and chasing down the ball. I knew she wouldn't stay out for long.
She's a Jersey girl. She's tough. Good chance here for Chicago. Shot to the corner, but wide.
And Sofia Huerta picking her spot again. Receives this ball cleanly, not too far out, 22, 23 yards out. Look at that nice lifted ball over the back line. Takes a touch, looks at her spot, aiming for that far post.
Oh, and you could see it was Stephanie McCaffrey who delivered that ball, and she had come up in support. Kind of could see her throw her head back. She knew Huerta, that was a golden opportunity. Those are one of the ones you need to try to at least put on frame.
Force a save, get a rebound. But again, that chemistry continuing to build with McCaffrey checking back, receiving the ball, facing up, and finding her teammate running in behind.
Who comes out with more fire? That was the question Chicago coach Rory Dames had when he went into the locker room. I don't know who I'd give that edge to yet. Oh, Kansas City and Shea Groom with a chance here. Shea all alone takes the shot, blocked by Johnston. Now McCarty will take one from distance. Silva touches! Chicago looking for a flag, but it stays down, and Francis Silva has put the visitors back in front.
Wow, we weren't sure who came out with more fire in the second half. But either way, it's Kansas City that gets on the board in the second half. First, a deflection there on the ball into the far post.
And you can see Silva just getting into position.
Yeah, she got in behind Gilliland, and Alyssa Nair didn't come off her line. I don't know. I mean, you clearly see the arm go up, waiting for that offside call.
Francis Silva with her second goal of the season. Former West Virginia Mountaineer.
talk about how much Gilliland gets forward, and clearly she always gets back and does her defensive duties, but that one just a step behind. And Francis Silva just sneaking in that half a step. Puts that one away.
2-1 was the final in Kansas City's match on Sunday against Sky Blue FC. Snapped a 2-match losing streak. Yael Averbuch was the hero with the game-winning goal off a free kick. Heard it was a beauty. Haven't had a chance to see that one yet. 85th minute, she scored the game winner.
You know when the coach says, if you haven't seen the video yet, you better go back and watch it, and that's what Andonovski told us yesterday. It was quite the beauty of a free kick.
Heather O'Reilly told us too how much Yael's been working on her free kicks. Now we saw Chicago answer in the first half after Kansas City scored first. Do they have it in them again? Kristen Press's goal came 6 minutes after Shea Groom had the first. Offside flag is up. And Vlatko Andonovski is going to make his first substitution of the match. Get a chance to see Caroline Castor out of Wichita, Kansas, and she'll come in for the goal scorer, Francis Silva. She'll head to the bench feeling proud.
That's a nice way to come off the field. I mean,
Right.
she's been working hard the whole first half, and to start the second half, and this ball, a little bit of a deflection there. But Silva sneaks in behind Gilliland and slots that one home.
Certainly wouldn't count this Chicago team out, though. They really feel that one of their best attributes is their relentlessness. And make no mistake that this means a lot to them. They remember what it felt like when they were the favorite in the semifinals last year. Kansas City came in here on their home field and blanked them 3-0 to go on to the NWSL final. Ball will just continue on, but harmlessly winds up at Barnhart's feet.
I think that was a tough one for Johnston because Press was sort of jogging along up top in the middle of the field. I don't know that Johnston knows where to put that ball as a defender, as a center back. You're trying to wait for that decisive run to show you where to put the ball where a defender's not going to get it. Or Barnhart for that matter.
Right.
Knowing you have such a good keeper back there. She's going to come out and snag that for sure.
Deep throw in. Short. Gets past one defender, has a little bit of trouble. Ball's still down in that end though.
Wow. It was a nice little move there by McCaffrey.
McCaffrey had the ball to Sofia Huerta, which really was one of the best opportunities of this second half so far for Chicago. You'd almost like to see her a little more involved when they get the ball. McCarty going against Gilliland. McCarty trying to split two defenders. No whistle. Chicago ball.
That looked like a really nice, clean double team tackle to me by Johnston, stepping in at just the right time.
McCarty had not recovered, was offside, so didn't even make a play on that ball. Bowen was looking for her. Scott. No Sauerbrunn. always a challenge in an Olympic year for all these NWSL teams to put the pieces back together when their international players return. A lot of times the teams that figure out the best way to do that are the ones that wind up in the playoffs, still standing at the end. 38 NWSL players were in Rio competing in women's soccer. Most of any professional women's league in the world.
Was interesting though, talking to Coach Rory Dames, and you had made the observation of the Chicago Red Stars roster. They have really no international players on that roster that participated in the Olympics outside of the US players, and they made a conscious decision to do that. Just for that reason, with the international break, with the Olympics going on, so it wouldn't affect their roster quite as much.
Gilliland sends it far side. Yeah, I thought it was interesting where I was just curious.
Right.
Was it by design? And he pretty much admitted it was, at least in this
cycle.
Olympic year.
Yes.
He told us that, you know what, in a non-Olympic or World Cup year, you probably do want to go out and look for international players, but he just felt, like you said, the in and out, they didn't want to have to disrupt their rhythm.
And he said that something they will likely look for in the offseason is to acquire some international players heading into next year. But it was an actual conscious decision for this season and this roster.
And it's given them a chance to develop some of their local and younger players. Domestic and younger players, I should say.
Ooh.
Bowen with the nutmeg, keeping some possession. Now it's up to McCarty. This gets shouldered initially off the ball. Quick recovery by McCarty. Trying to get it to Groom. O'Reilly taken down just as she was about to take that shot. That looked like it almost happened in slow motion. She can't believe it. DiBernardo, sneak attack, snuffed out that chance.
Well, it looked like, yeah, Heather O'Reilly took a touch there to set up her shot. DiBernardo sneaks in as she's kind of lifting her leg to take that shot, in her backswing, if you will. Or maybe it's just two players going for the ball and DiBernardo got there first, because I don't think Heather O'Reilly had a touch on the ball. I mean, is it just two players going for a 50-50 and DiBernardo got there first as Heather's winding up for it? I mean, I don't know that that's a foul.
Hard to see, really.
That's a weird one, because no one really had possession of it. Kansas City played it back to Heather O'Reilly, but if you're both going for the ball and she stepped in first, I don't know. It's one of those weird ones. Happens once in a blue moon and we're trying to figure it out.
So on we go, 2-1 the score, Kansas City out in front. In case you missed it earlier, the Blues have been eliminated from playoff contention. Chicago trying to secure its spot as one of the top 4 teams in the league, make the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. Washington Spirit taking on Seattle tonight. The Spirit have already secured their spot. Now they're trying to claim their first ever NWSL Shield. Have a chance to do that tonight.
That's a great ball. Nice little switch there. Some patience by Vanessa DiBernardo to find Huerta.
Huerta lays it in on the ground, the touch back, and maybe that's a little bit of the not knowing your teammates yet and where they're going to be. It was a pretty touch by McCaffrey, but press wasn't maybe where she thought she'd be. Good step in from Sauerbrunn. Gilliland has both Press and McCaffrey up there. Haverbush, some good height on that back line, the ball winner.
Well, and Gilliland seems to be staying home a little bit more in this second half. On this right flank, I think in the first half we would have seen her take that ball up, maybe go all the way to the end line. Instead, she's tried to serve it in over the back.
Trying to connect this time. Another chance, Chicago with the shot, but well off the mark by DaCosta, the second half substitution. And FC Kansas City will go to its bench, bring in Lola Banta, first year with Kansas City. 23-year-old out of California, played collegiately at Stanford. Did you get a chance to see her play at Stanford?
Isn't it fun watching? I mean, we both do some college games on different sides of the country, and it's fun to watch how they transition into this pro women's league. And more importantly, it's pretty awesome that there is a league that they get to transition into.
That's something that Alyssa Nair talked to us about. Really, we didn't ask her. She just immediately
went into it, yeah.
And you can understand.
Yes.
I mean, she's been in a position on the U.S. team where she's been a backup. She's not getting games, and she talked about how important it was for her to be able to come back to this league and have such high talent and play domestically and get these competitive games.
In your own backyard. And I think, you know, even with the amount of teams that we do have in NWSL right now, it's still a limited number of spots, and there's so many good college players out there just itching to play after school and make it to that next level, and it's just so awesome that there is a league that they can go and participate in.
Kansas City has won the last 2 NWSL championships. We'll have a new winner in 2016. Jim Cabrera and what he's done at Washington has certainly been impressive. The Spirit sit atop the table. Yeah. Chicago nearly getting behind there with McCaffrey.
Sauerbrunn did not look the slightest bit nervous, though.
Does
she just
ever?
reaches her left leg up there and clears it out one time backwards. Second nature.
Bowen. O'Reilly out wide on the near side now. Cuts it, crosses it. Castor with the shot, the header, and the goal! Shea Groom adds another.
A header onto a diving header, and Castor, the sub, who just comes off the bench and into the game. First of all, a nice left-footed ball. And a header assisting to a header. Shea Groom, Heather O'Reilly once again on that left flank is the exact same way she crossed the ball in for the first goal. Finds a way to get end line, picks her spot, finds her teammate Castor on the far post, and Shea Groom with a beautiful diving header.
I think you see a couple of things there. One, you see why people love to watch Heather O'Reilly play, whether it's for the U.S. or whether it's for a club team, as the rain's coming down a little harder now. 2, Castor, unmarked. Was wide open for that header.
That far post.
And then a nice finish in the end by Groom, who has 2 goals in this match now, 8 on the season.
And just laying her body on the line, and she was tightly marked, but when you have a diving header, there's only so much you can do if that person gets to the ball. You know what else it shows me? Heather O'Reilly is phenomenal in that attacking midfielder role, but I really feel like she's almost at home on the wing, or at least out wide in some capacity. Her 2 crosses, she finds the space out there. She has that burst of speed to get end line. And when she serves it in, it's with a purpose. She is picking out a teammate inside the box.
Well, space has always been her friend because she takes such
quick
advantage of it. I was hoping this weather would hold off for us, but it is certainly coming down now. 8th goal of the season for Shea Groom, a player who Vlatko Andonovski told us, I'm happy with what she's done. She's a leading scorer, but I'm not satisfied. He really expects a lot of this young lady.
and continues to push her. He wants her scoring goals just like that one, big goals that make a difference for her team.
And just some great combination play. Again, that left-footed ball. And a header down to the ground. It hits the turf by Castor. She doesn't try to do too much with it, just tries to get it back into traffic so her teammate Shea Groom can get on the end of it. But yes, completely unmarked, but she did something well with it. She did something good with it.
Highest scoring game of the season for Kansas City. First time they've put 3
Which is crazy, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, when you say that in the same sentence, 3 goals is their highest scoring game of the season, knowing what they were capable of last year on the offensive end.
And I think also showing what they could be capable of this year. If, as Becky Sauerbrunn said, they had a few more matches to play, extended the season another month or two, it'd be a different story. As it is, Chicago really in a hole now.
When they've had some offensive opportunities, just that final third, missing that final connection, that final pass.
And I don't think, I'm curious to hear what you think, I don't think they've been as dangerous as they were in that really flurry of maybe about 15 to 20 minutes where they hit the post a couple of times. They did get the goal from press. Haven't seen that same type of attack from them in the second half.
Well, and it's a balance, too, of figuring out, is it what adjustment Kansas City made defensively, or is it what the Red Stars are not doing? Because they're not getting those fast break opportunities up the wings with speed to find the open spaces. Chicago is not, like they did in the first half. Oof.
That ball almost taken away, but
scary square ball.
Huerta comes away with it. Sarah Gordon, by the way, the final substitution of the match for Chicago, is a head scratcher of a ball from Huerta there. Scott under some pressure. And really, if you're Kansas City at this point, you can afford to take your time, be conservative. But you know, you've got players like Kristen Press who are going to come after you.
Oh,
Chicago.
nice. Oh, that was almost a really good dummy there.
But a counter chance the other way for one of the fastest players on the field, O'Reilly, but defensively, Johnston gets to it first.
Well, if there's anyone who knows the speed of Heather O'Reilly, it's Julie Johnston. She knew she had to get on her horse to stay with O'Reilly step for step down this left side, this near side.
And you know, we talked about it at halftime with Heather O'Reilly, but I've just been so impressed by everything that has come out since she announced her retirement. Yael Averbuch wrote a beautiful article. Her teammates just have nothing but wonderful things to say about the type of human being and teammate that she is. Turnover will give this ball to Chicago, or will it? Hello, Desiree Scott. Nice recovery.
She lost it originally in the middle, and I thought easy, fast break in the other direction for Chicago, and she just came out of nowhere to recover that ball.
O'Reilly on the run again. Gilliland trucking back to try to catch up with her. On her left foot, O'Reilly right at Alyssa Nair.
She's looking for somebody. She's looking for an option. I think Gilliland's a little tired. We talked about fatigue in the first half. She made so many runs.
And there's again that ball where
she's just serving those up right now because I just don't think she has the legs to make those runs. Somebody needs to check two in the middle of the field and help her out if she's not gonna be able to take that ball end line. Look at her right now. See O'Reilly in behind her, and Gilliland is struggling to get back.
What will Heather O'Reilly do with this space? She can't get it past the outstretched foot of Julie Johnston. Gilliland says, here, you run with it for a while. Trying to work that far sideline. got an updated score line. Washington now up 2-0 over Seattle. A lot of dominoes could fall one way or the other based on that match. And they are in their second weather delay of the night, so appreciative that while we may have rain, we have been able to play on. Just got to look at Sarah Gordon, 23-year-old.
Another local.
Elk Grove, Illinois, yep. Another rookie getting out in the field for Chicago. Prairie Dames wanting to see what she can do. Some danger here. That ball trying to split through, but they are having none of it.
Well, and you know, as a goalkeeper, when the surface gets wet, those balls skipping in that box, Nair did a good job to make sure she got behind it and corralled it.
You know, I'm really excited for her. She wouldn't admit to us that she was excited because she is a very humble, selfless person. You certainly get that talking to her, but I'm excited for Alyssa Nair because when you're in the shadow of who many people consider to be the greatest goalkeeper in the world, and Hope Solo, you don't get a lot of opportunities. Now we're gonna get a chance to see a couple of friendlies coming up for the U.S. national team. Will we get to see Alyssa Nair get some time as the #1 keeper? DiBernardo gets in the way of that ball, keeps it in the offensive third for Chicago. DiBernardo still working.
Julie Johnston.
She wants to get on the attack. She's hungry. Press loses it.
And you can see her clapping her hands, cheering the teammates
Oh boy.
on.
O'Reilly, she's on. She's going to be one-on-one, if not for a fantastic recovery there. Side netting. O'Reilly cannot finish it off. Good work defensively.
Katie Naughton making the run back with some pace. And Heather O'Reilly received that ball in her own half of the field, so no chance of her being offside. That shows you right there everything that Heather O'Reilly has left in that tank as a veteran player.
Although right now she's saying, hang on.
Yeah, well, she just got done with the run. But
Let me get on side,
she's
people.
not lacking for energy and making the runs and trying to create some opportunities here for this team that's not even in the playoff picture anymore.
And what did she tell us? She said, I still feel like I have a lot to give to this game.
And look at her, you know, her young teammates are seeing this. This is a veteran player with 200+ caps at the international level, out there playing till the final whistle of a season.
Bernardo, the deflection.
It was own goal.
Whew, a cringe-inducing one.
Yes. Ever you're defending back towards your own net like that and it comes off the end of your foot, makes you a little nervous. But I'm telling you, those young players on Kansas City absolutely see what Heather O'Reilly is doing out there.
No question. Is this an opportunity for Chicago? DiBernardo puts it right in the middle of the box, headed away. Colaprico. Lofting ball, have some trouble by Castor, and it's right on the goal line. Did it cross? It has to completely cross the line. Our referee says, yes, it did. Sauerbrunn begs to differ.
We have goal line technology here. It was so nice at the World Cup, wasn't it? We had that goal line technology at the World Cup. Without a doubt, you could see every opportunity and goal-scoring chance. And wow.
Let's take another look at that as the Red Stars just refuse to give up on this one.
And that's how we got to the corner kick. That's the chance and the clearance over the end line.
And Colaprico is the one who sent the ball back in. It is not cleared by Castor, and then Huerta. Yeah, it sure looks like it got over.
You know, and from up here, I thought it looked like I could see space, and we are far away from that goal line. I thought I could see space between the goal line and where the ball was sitting. I could see green grass, but again, we're far away, but real time from up here, I thought it was a goal.
That's what it says on the scoreboard, and all of a sudden, do the Red Stars have a little more life, try to pick up a point here? Can they get another one? They're on the attack again. The shot is high.
Sometimes that's all it takes, a little bit of a spark, You know, we'll see if it's too little too late as we're going into the 88th, 89th minute here, but a ball by DiBernardo. And if there's anybody you want taking a shot, it's Kristen Press. See what they've got left here as the clock continues to wind down.
Huerta was the one. Heads up play in the box, scored the goal to bring it to 3-2 just a few moments ago. And now Chicago really putting the pressure on. As you said, you could just sense that a fire was lit just then. They were down 2 goals. They weren't having much of the ball. Heather O'Reilly trying to change the momentum a bit. It deflects off Gilliland, back to O'Reilly. Johnston. Looks like she's moved up into a more advanced position for Chicago.
Yeah, she's in more of that holding mid.
Looks like Colaprico is dropped back a little more. Right now, Chicago just needs to hang on to the ball a bit. They'll take the foul. Quick restart. Press knocked off the ball. Air way out to clear that one away. Trying to keep hopes alive in this one for the home team.
They're gonna have to find a way to get this ball. I mean, normally you don't want to just play direct and boot it up there, but you're short on time here.
Final seconds ticking away, not sure. Looks like we will have a couple of minutes of stoppage time added. 3 minutes of stoppage time for Chicago to work with and Kansas City to try to live through, hang on, pick up their second straight win and their first win in this series. Remember, these two teams will face off again in Sunday in Kansas City before another couple of weeks break for the NWSL. One of those FIFA windows that the league decided to take breaks on this year.
Everybody up in the box for Chicago.
McCaffrey staying with it. 2 defenders around her now.
You could see that was some good defending there because McCaffrey's trying to create some space, but a good double team with.
Take another look at that goal. Sauerbrunn was adamant that it did not cross the line. It doesn't look like it has yet. Ooh.
I think it did right there. Again, that's a very tough angle to see if 100% of the ball crossed that line, but the first angle we had, I'm just talking my own eyes, not looking at our monitor, looking at the field itself. I thought I could see some grass in between.
Nice round of applause from the crowd here in Chicago for Heather O'Reilly as she goes to the bench, and Alex Arlett, a rookie out of Houston, Texas, played collegiately at LSU, comes into the match.
Ooh.
Barnhart scoops that one up. It has been a pleasure to watch this young lady play. First put on a United States uniform at the senior level when she was just 17 years old.
It's just been a pleasure to deal with her. From our side of things too, you know, from a media member broadcaster, she always has a smile on her face.
Even if she does tell you she's coming for your job.
Yeah, she was smiling when she said that, I'll tell you that.
She has always been fantastic for us on the media side, that's for sure. Appreciate that. I know these players get pulled in an awful lot of directions, especially the U.S. national team players. Appreciative of the time we get to spend with them. Perhaps the final 30 seconds, last chance for Chicago. Do they have one right here? Johnston in behind in a collision with Barnhart. Card's gonna come out against Johnston on that one.
I would love to know what Becky Sauerbrunn just said to Julie Johnston right there. They were having a little bit of a conversation because Johnston's going, me, how do I get the card for that?
Maybe she said fix your head.
Maybe that's what it was.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I mean,
It looked pretty clear that Barnhart was going to get the ball,
yeah,
in my opinion.
Let's see it.
I'm not questioning. I mean, of course, she's going to go for it because even if you're in close range, you can make a goalkeeper flinch.
Well,
and she looked like she was trying to get out of the way at the last second there. You're going to go until the last second.
Yeah. I agree with you that it did look like
it's a tough call. It's so bang bang. It's such a bang bang play.
Either way, that was the last chance for Chicago. Final whistle. FC Kansas City comes in here to Chicago and does it again. Now Chicago's playoff hope's still alive, but credit this one, an impressive win for the Blues.
Well, and you know what? You just got the feeling that Kansas City wasn't going to come in here and just lay down. They weren't going to let the Red Stars have this game regardless of what happened last season in that semifinal. This game clearly had playoff implications and a playoff vibe to it, and this Kansas City team wasn't going down quietly. They came out tonight looking for a win.
I'm impressed with the fight that Chicago showed as well.
Absolutely.
Just not quite enough to come back there at the end. But we're going to take just a little bit of a break here. We will come back to wrap things up in Chicago. But the final score, FC Kansas City getting their first win over Chicago in the season series. 3-2 the final.